Hello and welcome to Colombo and Company as we kick off another week here mid-July. There's a whole lot going on as we are getting closer and closer to the August primary election here in the state of Missouri. All important election. One of the things that we're going to do this week as we go through today and every afternoon this week is I want to take some time and really break down like the details of some of the issues, the big issues like Amendment 4 and Amendment 5 and Amendment 1, which is getting no attention, and some of the other races because, and I'm guilty of this too, sometimes we like jump to the second step of our argument or, our debate around these issues and start making our case for why we're against something or for something without remembering to stop and explain the details of the situation before we start that debate. And I think that that's happened a lot. And of course, with political ads, which is political ads of just ads in general, have gotten their own, bit of criticism and conversation here over the last few weeks, and that's not going to change. It's only going to get worse even after these August primaries. I mean, we're going to go right into the news cycle for the general election in November. So ads are going to ramp up, if anything, in the debate and conversation and accusations of, ads lying or mischaracterization of issues or candidates or whatever it may be. So, this conversation isn't going anywhere. So that's one of the things I want to do this week is I want to make sure that we go back to the very beginning and we explain like what is Amendment 4 and why is this happening and what was the reason that we've even gotten to the point where this is on the ballot. Same thing with Amendment 5, some of the races, some of the other amendments. So, that's going to be one of the conversations that we focus on as we go through this week. Also, of course, all the news surrounding the death of Lindsey Graham, the latest happening in Iran, other local issues, of course, as we keep an eye on that. I mean, international news, national news, local news. There's a lot going on to talk about as we go through this week. I mentioned Lindsey Graham and Iran. We also got an update today from Mitch McConnell. Donald Trump's birthright citizenship push has gotten new life and is back in the news despite that Supreme Court ruling last week. There's some action, at least being discussed. That's how Congress works. They don't act. They talk about doing something, and then maybe they do something later. But that's what's happening. But a new plan, a new path forward for the birthright citizenship issue is being discussed. I find that to be really interesting, so we're going to get into that as we go through the day as well. It is Monday, which means we are going to get a check on the markets and the economy. We start the week with a check, on how all of that is going each and every week on Monday afternoons when we talk to Paul CURTMAN from PR CURTMAN Investments. He'll be with us in about 35 minutes from now. Also in the 3 o'clock hour, speaking of the local news and headlines, I'm going to talk to former Missouri State Representative Justin Sparks. He's our law enforcement expert as well. And today is the 2-year anniversary of the Trump assassination attempt in Butler, Pennsylvania. And Justin Sparks was central to the discussion, at least on this show, because of his law enforcement background and his SWAT background and the fact that he's worked on presidential and vice presidential security detail in the past and worked with the Secret Service, on securing venues and areas when the vice president or the president is in town. And so, he has tremendous insight on that, and he was incredibly helpful in us trying to understand and unpack everything that happened that day 2 years ago. And so we'll get a chance to revisit that. And I imagine talk about some of our frustrations of not really having many more answers today than we did 2 years ago about that situation. So Justin Sparks will join us in the 3 o'clock hour. So will Dave Sylvester from Gutter Pros. I mentioned Paul Curtman a little bit later this hour. And right now on the line with us to kick things off on this busy week, as he is every Monday, is the great Gabe PHIFER, News Talk STL contributor, former co-host of Mike Ferguson in the Morning. Gabriel, hello.
Happy Monday, my friend. It was good to see you yesterday at church.
Thank you. It was great to see you yesterday at church. Should I tell that story real quick?
Yeah, you need to, I think.
I just told Ashlyn, and she loved it. Everybody that I've told this story, they love it. So, Gabe is an elder at our church, one of the church leaders, and we talk a lot about that here on the air, and with him, is our conversations every week. And also, our pastor, Pastor John Michael Brown, is a good friend of ours as well. And John Michael and I are both Pokemon Go nerds. We play Pokemon Go, and I'm not ashamed to say
it's wild.
Yes,
like,
and there was a big Pokemon Go event this weekend. So my 9-year-old son, my 23-year-old daughter, her fiance, and then me and Pastor Brown are going on Pokemon hunt on Saturday to participate in these. Yeah, because we're all super nerds. You got all the way to almost 50 years old, all the way down to 9 years old represented in the vehicle. And we're playing Pokemon Go, and it's Saturday afternoon, and we're all having a great time. And Pastor's sitting shotgun. I'm driving, and my daughter in the back seat goes, "Hey, Dad, you going to church tomorrow?" To which John Michael goes, "Ha!" And like you said when I told you the story, got him. Like, oh, got him. You can't say, yes. Yeah. Of course I'm going to church tomorrow. You just asked me in front of the pastor.
Yeah. Oh, of course, yeah.
So,
definitely going.
Yeah, I'll see you there.
So proud of herself for that one.
She was.
She so proud of herself.
So was John Michael. So was John Michael. But it was great. It was great.
And it was great to see you.
Yes.
Obviously.
Well, thank you. And I always appreciate, not only Gabe is not only a rocket scientist, but also a church leader. So, and a lot of times people say, we've talked about this many times, Gabe, but a lot of people will say, oh, wait a minute, those two things don't mix. You can't believe in science and God. And yet you do. And
yet I do.
and are much smarter than the people that say that that's not possible. So I always appreciate that insight as we talk about these things. So I want to start. I want to touch on the Lindsey Graham situation. We'll unpack this a little bit as we go through the show. But just for everybody to get where we are with this situation at this point, Lindsey Graham has, it's been reported, died of an aortic dissection, according to preliminary findings from the medical examiner. An aortic dissection occurs when there's a tear in the aorta, the body's main artery carrying blood from the heart. Graham's office said the medical examiner found the condition was due to a word I'm not going to say, a cardiovascular disease, commonly described as hardening of the arteries. So that's the cause of death. And then, of course, there's been tremendous outpour of mostly, and it's kind of refreshing to see that there's not been a lot of hate and negativity, and it's unbelievable that I even have to say that, after somebody's passed away. But we don't always get that. We don't always get that anymore. There's oftentimes at least several. And I'm sure there have been. I don't know. I haven't seen every single social media post and read every single story. But for the most part, I haven't seen too many, snide comments that are at least, or if there are out there, they're not gaining a bunch of traction. So, that's nice for once.
But at this point, we're pleasantly surprised at the lack of it, which is a sad thing in and of itself.
That is a sad commentary, for sure. So now looking forward, and we'll get more details about his, what caused this and the medical situation. And there were reports that he was not feeling well ahead of, before this, but, shook it off because he's crazy busy, which always, that's, I think, an important important message for people of all ages.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't feel right, and I'm the most guilty of this, so I'm not
You're
saying
the worst.
I really am.
Worst.
I'm not trying to, preach to anybody about, how to live their life, but, it is a really good reminder that if you feel like something's off, then you should probably get it checked out because,
Hey, Tony, aren't your intestines supposed to be on the inside of your body? I mean, I know you're supposed to be here, but I mean, you might want to get that checked out.
Yeah, there's lots.
You're just all over the place.
There's lots of those. Are you supposed to have been to the doctor like sometime in the last 20 years, or is that normal?
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-oh.
Yeah, just a little check. Check.
Yeah. So.
Poke.
But I think that was, I think that we'll learn more about those sort of details as the week progresses, and we'll keep you up to speed on all the important stuff. But what comes next? Donald Trump has made a couple of announcements today, as well as his own, eulogy, essentially, of Lindsey Graham. One thing that he's done is he's called for the U.S. Senate to pass the Clarity Act in honor of Lindsey Graham, saying on Truth Social today, in honor of Senator Lindsey Graham, a big supporter of the U.S. Senate, a big supporter, comma. let me reread that so you understand exactly what the president says, because the Truth Social posts are always hilarious, even in this case. In honor of Senator Lindsey Graham, comma, a big supporter, comma. Just reminding everybody that they were friends.
Yeah.
The U.S. Senate should pass the Clarity Act. China and many other countries would like to take complete and total control of this major financial happening, as well as AI, where we are now leading, but where they are fighting hard. Don't let China win on either subject. So this is a big tech AI sort of issue, and I'm going to unpack that tomorrow when we talk to our big tech AI expert, Mike McCleary. But interesting to see that is tied into this. And I agree. And if that's what it takes, if it takes the momentum of, people wanting to honor Lindsey Graham to move forward on some piece of legislation and make sure that we continue to win when it comes to the development of AI and computer systems and just technology in general, then I'm okay with it. What do you think of that, Gabe? Outside of the Lindsey Graham Association, as somebody who is very aware of some of the most advanced technology that we have at our disposal in this country, how important is it that we stay in that position of leadership on the world stage with technological development in general, but also now with the impact and influence of AI, that we sort of lead the way on that development and the guidelines and regulations and all of the things that go along with that?
Yeah, I think this speaks to a reality that a lot of certain kinds of liberals and progressives don't like, to admit, is that America is the best country in the world. In fact, I would say that America is the best nation state in the history of human civilization, and I don't say that lightly. It's primarily due to our culture, primarily due to the fact that we not only try to view ourselves as the good guy, in general, but we have a basis, a philosophical and, dare I say, theological basis upon which to base that idea that when we think about things, we try to do it the most moral and the best way possible, the most wise way. And yeah, of course, we fail miserably at times because we're human, but in the grand scheme of humanity, we're doing the best at this. And the thing is, you want the most powerful abilities, the most powerful technologies, the most powerful weapons, the most powerful capabilities to be in the hands of the global good guys. We're the global good guys. So this is just trying to maintain the stability of the world, folks.
Yeah, amen to that. And we are going to continue the conversation with News Talk STL contributor Gabe PHIFER in about 40 minutes, about 38 minutes from now at 3 o'clock our time, 4 o'clock Eastern. South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster is expected to announce the replacement for Lindsey Graham, the fill-in that will hold that seat until the elections later this year in November, and then obviously with the new Senate coming in January. So the governor's holding a press conference at 4 o'clock. He's expected to make that announcement on who that person is going to be. And I want to talk about who it looks like that person is going to be. Somebody that both Donald Trump and the other senator in South Carolina, Tim Scott, who I am a huge fan of, have both endorsed the same person. And we will tell you who that is, and we'll discuss, whether what we think that's the right steps forward right now, as that seat needs to be filled, obviously, with a very small majority in that Republican Senate. Very important to see who's going to take that spot for the rest of the year, essentially. So we're going to continue this conversation with Gabe PHIFER next.
I'm breaking my back just to know your name, but heaven ain't close in a place like this. Anything goes, but don't think you might miss. 'Cause heaven ain't close in a place like this.
You feel it every time you check out. Prices up, paychecks stretched, families squeezed. That's why Ann Wagner's fighting to get government off your back and out of your way. Wagner passed the largest tax cut in American history, expanded child tax credits, ended taxes on tips, overtime, and Social Security. And Wagner is working to lower costs so families keep more of their hard-earned money. But Ann Wagner knows delivering from Missouri means more than just protecting their wallets. It means protecting our streets as well. That's why Wagner fought to secure our border, deport dangerous illegal aliens, partner with law enforcement, and put predators behind bars and off our streets so our neighborhoods and communities stay safe. Because real effective leadership protects what matters most: your money, your family, your safety. Ann Wagner for Congress.
I'm Ann Wagner, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Ann Wagner for Congress.
Bill, that's a big smile for an old politician.
I'm thinking about our plan. It's slick enough to make a lobbyist blush. First, we hoodwink voters with Amendment 5. Tell them it's a tax cut. Once they're hooked, we decide who pays the higher taxes.
So it's not a tax cut plan, and we don't get a say?
Right, just swaps who pays the tax, but it does remove 3 voter-passed taxpayer constitutional protections. That lets us levy new taxes on services, increase sales taxes, and even tax home sales. And voters will no longer get to vote on tax hikes.
Higher sales taxes on groceries, gas, service taxes on doctor visits, childcare, and even rent on apartments. Jeez. Taxes could exceed 20%.
Sure, they figure that up to 80% of taxpayers will pay more taxes. Many, hundreds more. Seniors, they'll get hit even harder, but our big donors will cut a fat hog.
The ones getting butchered by Amendment 5 are most taxpayers. I'm voting no on 5.
Paid for by Missourians for Fair Taxation.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Did Donald Trump and Republicans make everything great again over the weekend? We'll discuss with Senator Jim Talent at 4:25. At 5:25, Red State Headlines with Susie Moore.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL. This hour of Colombo Company brought to you by Gutter Pros. Water goes where we tell it. Call 314-656-7195 or visit them at gutterpros.com.
We're caught in a trap. I can't walk out because I love you too much, baby.
My daughter's favorite Elvis song. Welcome back to Colombo Company on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL. In about 12 minutes, we are going to talk to our economic financial expert, Paul CURTMAN from PR CURTMAN Investments. We talk to Paul every Monday afternoon to get the beginning of the week outlook on the economy and the markets. So looking forward to that. And obviously what's happening in Iran is going to play a big role in that conversation and the influence of what is happening with the world's economies and markets, including the double announcement today. Iran made the announcement that they are closing the Strait of Hormuz, and Donald Trump made the announcement that the United States is going to keep the Strait of Hormuz open. So one side is putting up a sign that says, sorry, we're closed, and the other side is putting up a sign that says open for business. I'm sure that is going to be part of the conversation with Paul in just a few minutes. Right now, we continue with News Talk STL contributor, the former co-host of Mike Ferguson in the morning. The great Gabe PHIFER is with us. And Gabe, we're talking about Lindsey Graham and, the reaction and tributes that have been, all over and still coming in for the last 24 hours or so. And now today we look to what is going to happen next. And as I mentioned, at 3 o'clock our time, 4 o'clock in Washington, D.C., and in the East Coast, South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster is holding a press conference. So we will be live on the air when this happens, and we will get you the news as it breaks. But he's expected to announce the replacement for Lindsey Graham, which will be the person that holds that seat for the rest of this year, essentially, until the elections in November and then the new Senate in January. And the person that is looking like it is certainly going to be is a person that has been endorsed by both Donald Trump and the other senator from South Carolina, Tim Scott, and it's Darlene Graham Norden, the sister of Lindsey Graham. She has emerged as President Donald Trump's preferred pick to temporarily fill the South Carolina Republicans' Senate seat. Trump urged South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster to appoint Norden as a caretaker, calling it a, quote, fabulous tribute to Lindsey, who loved her dearly. Senator Tim Scott, as I mentioned, also has been speaking to Norden and the governor and is also endorsing Lindsey's sister to be the successor and to hold that seat. So, Gabe, there's more to this, but I want to get your initial thoughts and kind of as we unpack this. I get a nice tribute to Lindsey Graham,
right?
But it's a United States Senate seat. Now, I'm not saying that she's not. Maybe she is. Maybe she's fabulously qualified. But just the fact that, and, when part of Trump's statement, said that they were very close and that Lindsey loved her dearly, and that's all wonderful. But that doesn't mean that she's, just that doesn't mean that she is the appropriate person to hold a United States Senate seat. So there could be more. But what do you, initially, your thoughts, your reaction to that statement? The idea that Tim Scott is also along with that makes me gives me a lot more confidence that there are other reasons besides being, a great tribute to Lindsey, that his sister would be the right person. But your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, just at first blush, my first thought, as with a lot of these things, is a U.S. Senate seat is not a family heirloom. You don't just well, he really loved his sister, so she should have it. That's not how that goes. You know what I mean? But yes, I think there is also the reality that sometimes business runs in the family, and a lot of times politics is that business, and a lot of people get involved with the same last name. They prove themselves to be capable. Now, obviously, they trade on their name quite a bit in that world, but at some point, you hope that the rubber meets the road and they have to perform. And by this time, at this stage, she would have proven herself. So not knowing who she is, not knowing her record, it gives me a bit of pause just because they're kind of playing on the name thing. But like you said, Tim Scott's endorsement is a positive. That's a check mark on the pro column. So we'll see how it pans out.
So you know what this reminds me of, and I don't know if you remember this, but in the year, I think it was the year 2000, Mel Carnahan, the former governor of Missouri, was running for Senate here in Missouri, and it was way closer to the election. I think it was like literally 2 weeks before he was running for Senate and died in a plane crash. And
right, that's right.
And his wife took his spot on the because it was literally 2 weeks. There was no time to put a different person on the ballot. There was, it was already. I mean, heck, in today's world, half the votes would be in 2 weeks before the election.
That's a good point.
The envelopes would already be filled out.
Ago.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, vote early, vote often.
And so did my dead ancestor.
Yeah, right, exactly. But his wife, Jean Carnahan, was just put in his place, and they won, and she became Missouri's senator. Just in a sort of similar situation. There's obviously some differences. This is as Donald Trump said, a caretaker position for a few months. He hadn't even won the election yet. And
right.
And that's the Missouri. There's a lot of times where you will if somebody's trying to be critical of Missouri politics or Missouri voters, they'll do the whole Missouri elected a dead man to the United States Senate because we did.
That's one of the favorite ones. Yeah, technically yes.
Yeah.
Or you could say the Democrats are so bad.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So I mean, there is that way of looking at it.
Yeah.
Too,
So Jean Carnahan, took that spot. So that's at least in my, off the top of my head memory, which is not always the most reliable. That's the closest. That's the closest precedent or example that I could think of, in at least recent U.S. history, of something like this, where you would replace, a senator with a family member.
Right.
So, as I mentioned, her name is Darlene Graham Norden, the sister of Lindsey Graham. She's never held public office, but here again, this is not what I want to hear when I hear why she's qualified, but shared a uniquely close bond with her brother.
Oh gosh.
After their parents died when he was in his early 20s and she was 13, Graham became her legal guardian and helped raise her while building a career that took him from Air Force to Congress. McMaster
That's a beautiful story.
It is a beautiful story, but it doesn't mean that you should be,
exactly.
Going to Trump's Truth Social post, Lindsey Graham's sister, Darlene Graham Norden, would be a fantastic pick to serve throughout the remainder of the Senate term. After speaking with Darlene, there is no one better who understands Lindsey's love for family, our state, and our country. South Carolina Republican Governor Henry McMaster, as I mentioned, has announced a 4 p.m. news conference. That's 3 p.m. our time, so about 25 minutes from now. We'll be keeping a very close eye on this to announce the selection of the person who will serve out the remainder of Graham's term until January. A summer primary and November election will determine the holder of the seat for the following 6 years. Tim Scott has spoken multiple times with Darlene over the past 24 hours, according to multiple sources, and will be at this press conference at 4 p.m., where it is expected that the governor will be making this announcement. So, I mean,
yeah,
there's more out there. Yeah, I mean,
I mean, you said she never held a public office.
Yeah.
And her qualifications include her familiarity with her brother.
Yeah, and we know that, and I don't know how this, and I, this is just by ignorance here, and we'll we'll figure this out and unpack it throughout the week. But Lindsey Graham obviously was very near the top of leadership.
Yeah.
In the Republican Party.
Quite
So what about all the assignments and chairmanships and boards and all of the committees and things like that?
Now, I hope they, because they're the chairman of those various boards, I think they get to, or the not the chairman, but the actual leadership of the Senate, the
Vice
majority
President
leader gets to pick.
Yeah. Or Thune.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the majority leader Thune.
So technically, I think he gets to appoint someone new to that seat on the committee. So hopefully the committee stuff will pan out the way it would normally. If you had, even if you just picked an actual freshman senator coming up and said, you still got to cut your teeth. We're not going to put you in this seat on this committee. We'll put you elsewhere. So hopefully
here's the other thing to remember.
Here's
the other thing to remember too. They don't do anything anymore. So she probably just sit there for 5 months.
I was just thinking that what this is actually sounding like is they're picking a figurehead for an organization that's going to run without her.
Yeah,
that's what it sounds like to me. So basically, the campaign, Lindsey Graham's various personnel, the aides, and the head of this little group of in his organization. It sounds like they're basically going to be running that seat. They're going to be telling her who to vote for, and this lady is just going to be a figurehead for that position, which does not speak well to our democratic Republican system.
Well, it's going to be obviously one of the major stories of the week as it develops, and we'll keep an eye on all of it, and we will be here obviously at 3:00 when the governor of South Carolina makes the official announcement of who is going to replace Lindsey Graham for the remainder of this term, and we'll bring you to that as it happens. Gabe PHIFER, appreciate your time as always, my friend. Thanks for everything. Look forward to talking to you again soon. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, guys. God bless.
Back at you, buddy. All right, and as I mentioned, we need to get Paul CURTMAN on the line, talk about the economy, talk about the markets with the war in Iran basically back on. A lot going on today. Iran saying that they are closing the Strait of Hormuz. Donald Trump said absolutely not. The United States is going to keep the strait open. Trump also said that the U.S. will charge a 20% fee for Strait of Hormuz passage. Very interesting there. And Donald Trump also, I'll read this statement a little bit later. He said that Iran is, quote, getting its ass kicked by the United States. That is a quote from the President of the United States. What kind of impact is this having on the world economy as we begin this week? We'll find out when we talk to Paul CURTMAN next.
Made in St. Louis for St. Louis. It's News Talk STL. News, analysis, opinion.
Don't always agree, but in love listening to your radio station. This is tyrannical stuff they're doing.
Elections have consequences.
This is 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss of Safe Bunny Radio as part of our lineup each week. Doug has been a staple on the St. Louis radio airways for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. You can now hear Doug and Safe Bunny Radio every weekend on News Talk STL. But in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeBunnyRadio.com. What else do our listeners need to know, Doug?
Simply put, I focus on helping pre-retirees and retirees build, preserve, and protect retirement assets, and I've been helping my clients solve their insurance and financial needs for the past 33 years. I also strive to educate my clients on how to prepare for retirement, minimize the impact of market volatility on their assets, and deal with the challenges of increased longevity. Call me today at 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233.
Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP. Member FINRA and SIPC.
There's something magical about walking into your backyard and knowing your family is completely safe and secure. Hi, I'm Sean Long, owner of STL Fenceworks. That's the feeling my team and I have been creating for metro area families for more than 50 years. Whether you're adding your first fence or finally creating the outdoor sanctuary you've always wanted, we offer premium vinyl and stunning ornamental options, all designed around your family's specific needs and lifestyle. While other companies struggle with supply delays and rising costs, we've always proudly used all American-made materials, which means better pricing and faster installation for you. Our experienced craftsmen exemplify our motto, your satisfaction is our passion. From Warrenton to Wildwood, your neighbors trust us because we live here too. And we care about your project as much as you do. Right now is the golden time to build with flexible financing options and a commitment to completing your fence on time and on budget. Visit stlfenceworks.com.
When decisions matter most, experience isn't optional. As a former SWAT commander, Tim Whitney has led Under Pressure. Today, as Undersheriff and Chief Financial Officer, he helps lead hundreds of employees, manages one of the county's largest budgets, and protects taxpayers with conservative accountability.
I'm Tim Whitney, and I'd be honored to earn your vote. Together we can support responsible growth, strengthen public safety, protect taxpayers, and preserve the character that makes Jefferson County home.
Paid for by friends of Tim Whitney. Heather Missy, Treasurer.
Paul Curtman's Financial Update is brought to you by PR Curtman Investments, providing customized strategic guidance to help you build and protect your wealth. Learn more at prcurtman.com.
I don't know how I let this happen. But who? The girl next door, you know? I don't know what to do.
So it wasn't you.
Alright. Honey came in and she got me red-handed, creepy with the girl next door.
Wasn't me. Welcome back to Colombo and Company on 101.994.1 News Talk STL. Thanks again to Gabe PHIFER for joining us in that last segment. Great conversation with Gabe. As always, we continue the great conversation now with Paul Curtman from PR Curtman Investments. And Paul, as we kick off another week, more volatility happening on the world stage. The negotiations appear to be over. And we are back in a military conflict with Iran, and the Strait of Hormuz has got a whole bunch of drama happening, which makes oil prices go crazy, which I'm sure has some kind of impact on the economy and the markets. So thanks, as always, for your time, my friend, to help try to unpack all this.
Yeah, sure thing, Tony. Great to be back with you. You know, the markets are responding in a little bit negatively today across most of the major indexes. The S&P 500, the Dow Jones Industrial Average, the NASDAQ, they're all down for the day. However, it's important to remember that when you look at the S&P 500, we're still within striking distance of hitting another all-time high. I think right now we're probably down, last time I looked, maybe just a little bit more than 1% from our recent all-time highs. So even though the markets might be responding negatively now, there isn't anything yet in the market that would signal that the market's on a run, you know, to get away from all this bad news. But nevertheless, markets are going to respond. And we've talked about it before, Tony. Peace talks with Iran. Peace talk number 1, peace talk number 2, peace talk number 3. We called this. People should start betting on our conversations on one of these new betting websites or something, because we've been nailing this. It's not going to happen. This war is going to continue. The price of oil is up about 4 or 5% today because people are seeing what's going on in the Middle East. The markets are responding to that. So if this continues to go, I think it could be bad politically, but I think, of course, it's going to be bad for the people in the Middle East, more specifically the people in Iran, especially the people that would just like the opportunity to live in some peace.
Yeah.
So I certainly hope that whatever we're about ready to do, it doesn't lead to another likely to fail peace talk again.
So the president actually is calling that behavior out finally, publicly, for the first time in this process. And you're exactly right. It's something that we've been screaming about for a while. But real quick, before we continue with the Iran situation, what about what happened with the markets with all the millions of dollars on the Conor McGregor fight that didn't happen? Holy! Oh
my goodness!
Don't even give me. Never mind.
Why did you bring that up, Tony? That is such a sore spot for it. Listen, I am a Conor McGregor fan.
Me
I'm
too.
a Conor McGregor fan.
Me too.
The guy's made he's been a little bit of a bully from time to time. I love.
He had a
how he's been
real
turning
bad
his life-
patch. He had a real
He did.
bad patch of in his life that is indefensible. But I was rooting for him to make a
too.
comeback and be healthy and put those demons behind him and all of those things.
Especially for me, what really spoke to me was like, here's a guy who is very openly professing that he's become a Christian and like he's relying on God to turn his life around, and he's made a lot of mistakes and he's not gonna do that anymore. And like 15, 20 seconds into the fight, oh man, but yeah, all that money. I tell you what, I immediately went to X and other social media sites because I just wanted to see, because I know
I posted
people were
something.
throwing down.
I posted something too.
People are throwing down such large sums of money on this. I was looking at the odds while I was watching the fight. You know, they have them displayed at the bottom of the screen. And man, I tell you what, that made a lot of people angry in a way that they're just gonna roll that bitterness around in their mouth for months, if not years. I'm hoping though, he has one more fight on his contract. I hope he comes back. And I mean, listen, he's 37. There's other UFC fighters that have fought into their 40s. I think he could do it too, but I would like to see it because the man is an amazing showman, and it's entertainment. That's what what the whole fight business is, and he has certainly helped make the UFC what it is. So I hope he doesn't go out like that.
Yeah, I agree, and they should do it for free. It's being estimated that Conor McGregor made up as much as $30 million for Saturday night, because his base purse was like $15 million, and then he gets a certain amount of pay-per-view revenue and sponsorship revenue and all of that sort of stuff. Yeah, he made about $30 million for that, and the other guy made like $10 million or something. Just Holloway.
This is the market, though. I mean, Conor McGregor has turned himself into a product
For
that
sure.
is so valuable for the UFC that they would be willing to pay him $30 million, even though the fight wasn't much of a fight at all. But this is one of the things. This is something that even for all the people out there who are not fight fans, but you're interested in the markets and you have a portfolio and you want to know how markets work, pay attention to the UFC. Pay attention to people like Conor McGregor, because you will see value with people begin to skyrocket, and you will see people begin to invest themselves in those fighters.
Yeah.
And it's the same way in my line of work when we're talking about portfolios and securities and everything else.
There you go. And back to the Iran situation. So you mentioned that there was a little bit of a stumble, I guess. Is that a good way to put it for the beginning of the week here? Probably related to. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So you said a little bit of a stumble. I wasn't sure if we were still talking
about
Conor
Iran.
McGregor
We're back
or not.
on Iran. We're gonna go back to
Okay.
Iran here. So getting back on track. You mentioned that there was not a positive start to the week, at least, right?
It wasn't a positive start to the week. We do have some domestic data that's going to be coming out this week that I think could really begin to signal how we're sizing things up for the market here at home. So the Bureau of Labor Statistics release it. They're the ones that release economic data like jobs reports and unemployment numbers, and we wait for them to release the CPI so we know what inflation's doing. Well, coming up this week, we have an index that's coming out, and it's the national. I think it's who is it? The National Federation of Independent Business. They release a small business optimism index. Now, you'll hear politicians say this all the time. Small business is the heartbeat of the American economy. And so what they're wanting to look for is they're wanting to look for small business owners, small business operators. They want to know, how optimistic are you about the future? And there's this thing that I remember from politics. It's that when you ask people how they're going to vote, those polls are they're not always very tight. They have huge margins where they could be making mistakes. But when you ask people, okay, this is who you're going to vote for, but who do you think's going to win? It's interesting that sentiment is often closer to the actual results. And so when I look at the National Federation of Independent Business Small Business Optimism Index, when you get an indicator that lets you know how small business owners feel about the future, that could really help you make some projections in terms of whether or not the economy really is going to be headed in a strong direction, or whether or not we might see a pullback when you start measuring how people feel about what's actually going to happen.
That's interesting. That's interesting that people's gut feeling is more accurate in many cases than what their preference or vote is. That's a really interesting stat, and I guess it doesn't surprise me totally, but interesting stuff certainly. And here's more interesting stuff. Donald Trump suggested today that the international community should pay the United States for being the guardian of the Strait of Hormuz. So there's a couple of things financially that the president has thrown out, and like today in the last 24 hours, about the situation with the Strait of Hormuz, because Iran came out and said that the strait is closed. We're shutting it down.
Mm-hmm.
We're not letting anybody go through anymore. And immediately the president said that is not the case. The blockade is on. The strait is open. The United States is going to see to it. Related to that, he was on Fox and Friends this morning, and where he talked about how the international community should pay. He said, quote, "We're going to keep the strait, and we'll probably run it. We'll become the guardian of the strait. Maybe we'll call it the guardian angel of the strait, and we should be reimbursed for that. We're going to guard it. We're going to get paid for guarding it, a lot of money. We're going to be reimbursed because the other nations are very wealthy. They're on our side, and we can't be expected to do that for nothing." Okay, and then there's the idea of charging a 20% fee for the usage, which he also said today. But one at a time here, Paul. What do you think about the idea of the world basically paying us, hiring us basically as the security force for the Strait of Hormuz? I agree with the president when he says we shouldn't be doing things like this for nothing, but I don't know that this is going to be embraced by the rest of the world. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm with you. I think listen, we already police the world so much. He campaigned against getting away from, literally getting away from that, and now this might be the policy direction that he wants to take us. I don't like the idea of the U.S. being the guardian of anything, especially except America, especially in that region of the world. I think that could be incredibly costly, not just in terms of dollars, but in terms of blood of the best and the brightest that America has to offer. And I don't want to ever see us mire ourselves in a situation like that. I do think, though, that if we wind up creating some type of security force there, if we go that route, we should absolutely get reimbursed. This is not something that we should be doing for free. I have a hard time thinking that we're going to be able to do it because right now, international law, ships generally have a right of transit through international straits, of which the Straits of Hormuz is. So international law prohibits charging vessels just for passage. But what if somebody doesn't want to pay? Seems like we have an international incident right on the other side.
Maybe they don't. Maybe they're paying for the security and not paying for passage. So if you don't pay, you're on your own.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing. That's the only way I think we could do it is you can pay for security. But I'm not so sure I'm not sure that is a good thing for us to be doing in the Middle East. I think the better approach would be to bomb them into absolute nothing but absolute total surrender. So we shouldn't be negotiating. We shouldn't be launching a war only to backpedal just enough to where, well, this is our plan. We didn't announce it when we launched the battle, but this is plan not A, B, C, or D. This is actually plan E or maybe plan F that will just be the security force because we actually haven't won against the Iranian regime. How about victory? How about we don't stop until we get the victory that we were told we were going to get in 5 weeks?
Yeah.
And now here we are 3.5, 4 months into this. That's what I think we should go back to. I think that would be a good message for the president, especially going into the primaries. I think that's a terrible policy to be floating before the primary elections.
Paul, real quick, we only have about a minute and a half left. Is there, and you're the perfect person to ask this because of the economic background, your political background, your military service, especially in that part of the world. Is there an amount, whether it be from tolls or it just is a standard fee that it does become beneficial for the United States? I agree with you. Like the effort, the people, the resources that go into being over there. I don't see that that's a long-term or even short-term gain for the United States. Is there a dollar amount that it does become that all of that is worth it, or is it just such a complex issue that even money isn't going to be a positive? Got about a minute. Go ahead.
Yeah, it all depends on who you ask. Now, if you're asking somebody who's running the books and the ledgers in Congress, they can probably come up with a number. But then you ask the mother of a U.S. Marine who's going to be on a ship and who's going to have to be providing security just to move oil for other countries, I think she might have a different opinion about that. Yeah. So I think it all depends on who you ask. I think that the cost could very easily far outweigh the benefit because you're going to be comparing, you could very easily be comparing human lives to ledger books, and that's not a good place we want to be as Americans.
Paul Curtman from P.R. Curtman Investments. Great stuff as always, my friend. Look forward to talking to you again soon. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, Tony.
You bet. Awesome conversation there with Paul. All right, coming up here in just a few minutes at the top of the hour, we're expected to hear from the South Carolina governor announcing his appointment to take Lindsey Graham's seat for the rest of the year. So we'll bring you that live. Also, Justin Sparks, our law enforcement expert, joins us next.
When you're approaching retirement, there are a lot of questions to answer. Do you have enough money to fund your income for life? How should you claim Social Security? And what's your plan for health care and long-term care? Hi, I'm Eric Robert, Director of Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money Saturday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL 1019. Don't leave your retirement to chance. It's crucial to understand and address relevant risks before you retire. Our team can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create an investment portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com. Or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Oh, Adam, you are so romantic. And I love the kitchen you found with all these great crumbs.
Yeah, baby, only the finest crumbs in the kitchen for my favorite aunt. Oh no, it's the pest control company again with those green wheels. They always kill the mood.
This is Derek, the owner of All Solutions Pest Control. Give us a call today at 636-486-7888. We'd love to help you out. Learn more about our special $67 offer. You can visit us online at allsolutionspestcontrol.com.
If a pest-free home is your goal, call All Solutions Pest Control.
To everyone who serves and sacrifices, this one's for you. Heroes Care is giving away 1,000 suits to our heroes. Active duty, retired, guard, or reserve, military, police, fire, or EMS, just show up with your ID and a suit is yours. That's Saturday, July 18th, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Heroes Care store in Gravois Village Center, Jefferson County. For those who sacrifice every day, we simply want to say thank you. Details at heroescare.org. Heroes Care, honoring those who serve.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green.
This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour at Town Hall. I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. The passing of one of the country's leading Republicans on Capitol Hill has both parties scrambling now as they look ahead to the midterm elections.
Senator Lindsey Graham's death has sparked a political scramble in South Carolina. As a senior senator and ally of President Donald Trump, Graham was expected to win re-election easily. Now, Governor Henry McMaster must appoint a temporary replacement until January. A special primary will determine the Republican nominee for the general election. The open Senate seat has ambitious conservatives vying for the position. Meanwhile, Democrats have nominated Charleston pediatrician Annie Andrews, who has raised significant campaign funds. Graham's passing leaves a significant void in the Senate, where seniority can determine influence. Bernie Bennett reporting.
This weekend, there was a fatality in wildfire fighting efforts in the western states.
Authorities say an aircraft helping fight a Colorado wildfire has crashed into a reservoir, killing the pilot. The Gunnison County Sheriff's Office reports the aircraft went down in the Silverjack Reservoir, and the pilot's body was recovered by divers. The pilot was assisting with the Gold Mountain Fire, which has been burning for 2 weeks and is 13% contained. Last week, wildland firefighters in Colorado paid tribute to 3 colleagues who died fighting a fire on the Colorado-Utah border. Many large fires continue across the West, including in Colorado, Utah, and New Mexico. The National Weather Service says there are fire weather concerns due to prolonged hot and dry conditions. I'm Haya Panjwani.
Israeli officials are now challenging Congressman Ro Khanna's version of recent events. We get more on that from correspondent Willie Nelson.
Israeli Ambassador Michael Leiter is pushing back on Congressman Ro Khanna's claim that he was detained during a visit to the West Bank. Israeli officials say Khanna entered a restricted military zone without proper coordination and was never detained. Leiter says Khanna failed to follow standard procedures before entering the area. Willie Nelson, the White House.
More on these stories at townhall.com.
This is an important notice to all U.S. taxpayers. The IRS is giving away billions of dollars in tax savings through a federal program called the Fresh Start Initiative to aid delinquent taxpayers. This initiative was established for anyone facing financial hardship and unable to pay their back taxes. Qualifying and enrolling in this program will stop all collections, settle your delinquent tax problem, and even reduce what you owe by thousands of dollars. Call the hotline at People's Tax Relief to see if you qualify and get this free information by dialing 800-419-2387. If you have unfiled tax returns or cannot afford to pay your personal or business back taxes, you can now get the help you need. One simple phone call can resolve your tax problem and save you thousands of dollars. To see if you qualify and to get this important free information, call 800-419-2387. 800-419-2387. 800-419-2387.
From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. The heat builds as the week goes on. A low 70 tonight. Sunny skies and a high of 91. This is very near normal, though. Heat index to 95. It's not oppressive humidity, but you'll notice it. And then on Wednesday, a high of 92. Heat index to 97. 10% chance of a little spot shower or thunder shower during the afternoon to evening hours. Otherwise, mainly dry and hot. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Chris Cooper and Serenity Wealth Management. Business owners, download your free playbook for financial clarity at serenitywealthbiz.com. That's serenitywealthbiz.com. If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Yes, I listen on my phone.
Download the all-new News Talk STL app.
Love the all-new News Talk STL app.
It is awesome. And listen anytime.
Love the News Talk STL app.
Anywhere.
Welcome back to Colombo and Company on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL. Tony Colombo here in studio with producer Ashlyn, keeping a very close eye on what's happening in South Carolina. The governor there is expected to be starting a press conference and making his announcement over who is going to be the replacement for Senator Lindsey Graham, which all reports say is going to be the senator's sister, who has been endorsed by Donald Trump and by Tim Scott. So we're going to keep a very close eye on this, and we will bring you some of this press conference as it happens live. Also trying to get our law enforcement expert, former Missouri Representative Justin Sparks, on the line. A few things I want to talk to Justin about today as we monitor this situation in South Carolina. Not only can we lean on Justin's expertise about Missouri politics, as he is a former Missouri representative, and as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, one of the things that I want to do this week and for the next couple of weeks, now that we are so close to the August primaries. I think tomorrow is 3 weeks. Yeah. Tomorrow marks 3 weeks till the August primaries in Missouri. That is amazing that we are that close. And with Amendment 1 and Amendment 4 and Amendment 5 and the races that are happening in St. Louis County and St. Charles County and other places across the state, these August primaries are massively important, and I want to get into the details of, we've heard a lot of people saying, who they're for, including me, supporting 5 and massively supporting Amendment 4. But sometimes we go straight to the debate. We go straight to the, here's what I want, and here's what here's why I think this, or here's where, why I'm combating what you're saying. But we don't start the conversation with, here's the details of what the amendment is. So that's one of the things I want to talk to Justin about. Also, today is the 2-year anniversary of the assassination attempt against Donald Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania. And Justin was a big help of unpacking and understanding that situation. So I want to talk to Justin Sparks about that as we get him on the line here in just a few minutes. But right now, let's go ahead and go live. We'll go to this one here, Ashlyn, if we can, TV2. We're going to go live to South Carolina. The governor there, McMaster, is starting his press conference and is expected to announce the replacement for Lindsey Graham's Senate seat for the rest of this year. Let's go live to South Carolina.
The seriousness of his work, but also the value of humor and a lighthearted spirit. Lindsey Graham understood the hopes, dreams, and needs of his state and delivered for his state every time. Presidents, paupers, famous or forgotten, he treated us all the same. We have seen him attack evil and injustice and embrace friendship and the common good with equal fervor and strength. Yes, we are going to miss Lindsey, but we will always remember his quickness, his laugh, and what he has done for us and the world. As he described himself, this poor boy from a little town in South Carolina. Today, under the law, it's my duty and honor to name someone to serve in the place of this irresistible man, this irreplaceable man, this extraordinary man for the remainder of his term. Lindsey took care of his little sister in years long departed. It's my honor to ask his little sister, Darlene Graham, to finish his work for him now. And by the way, Darlene, I don't know if I told you, but after we spoke on the phone in the wee hours of Sunday morning, and you agreed to serve through tears, earlier, I had wondered what you would say, and I was humbled by your quickness to see the duty that you had to serve. And I called the president afterwards, and he thought it was a great idea. And I'm sure that everyone here does as well. Darlene, little sister, come forward, please.
Thank you, Governor, and just bear with me as I try to get through this. But first, I just want to say one thing I've never heard Lindsey described as is irresistible. So, okay, we'll just start with that. But first, I would like to thank everyone who has called and reached out over the past couple of days. I can't tell you how much it's meant to me and our family. I know Lindsey was loved and respected by many, and I greatly appreciate the memories and even the funny stories that have been shared. These shared experiences, along with our faith, have gotten us through these past 2 very difficult days. Next, I want to thank the governor for selecting me to serve the remainder of Lindsey's term. It is such an honor. Lindsey has always been there for me, and now I will be there for him. My brother was the most amazing person, outstanding leader, and just a genuinely good man. He was kind and considerate and loved by his family dearly. As I think everyone would agree, Lindsey worked harder than anyone. He worked nonstop to make our state, country, and world better. He loved his family and loved serving this state and our country. He dedicated his life to our country. It is such a privilege to get to finish some of his important work, and I promise to work hard over the next several months to support the President and carry forward the efforts of my brother on behalf of the citizens of South Carolina and the United States. I know Lindsey thought the world of his staff and colleagues, and with their support, I feel confident. I think this is what Lindsey would have wanted, and I plan to honor him in this way. Now to Lindsey, I miss you more than I can even put into words. But I'm going to do this. I got it. Thank you.
That concludes this ceremony. Thank you.
All right, well, that was the governor of South Carolina, Governor McMaster, and then Lindsey Graham's sister, Darlene Graham Norton, has now been officially announced as the replacement for Lindsey Graham's Senate seat. I wanted to stay with that whole press conference because we're trying to learn, more about Darlene Graham Norton, and we know that her and Lindsey were tremendously close. She's never held an elected office before, and just trying to learn more about this person who is going to very shortly be a United States Senator, even if it is only for a few months. Still super important stuff, but it is official. The sister of Lindsey Graham, Darlene Graham Norton, will be taking his seat, and as Donald Trump referred to it, basically as a caretaker of Lindsey Graham's Senate seat until the elections later on this year, and then, of course, till when the new Senate starts in January. That's when the new senator will take that spot. So we'll continue to keep a very close eye on this story and unpack it as we get more and more details. Live radio, baby, you got to roll with the punches. You never know what you're going to get, but let's get back on track here with Justin Sparks. As I mentioned, the former Missouri State Representative, our law enforcement expert, Justin Sparks, is with us on the line. And Justin, just, to kind of to close the conversation, at least for now, on this Lindsey Graham situation, because we've unpacked a lot of this throughout the day. We started the show with GABE PHIFER talking about Lindsey Graham and what happened over the weekend and this expectation of his sister being appointed. And I mentioned the only thing that I can remember in history, at least recent U.S. history, that is anywhere close to something like this was right here in Missouri with Mel Carnahan, who died 2 weeks before the 2000 Senate election. He was the governor here of Missouri, running for Senate, passes away in a plane crash in mid-October, literally like 2 weeks before that Senate election. Missouri elects him, and as has been the butt of many Missouri political jokes, is Missouri is the state that elected a dead man, and therefore it was his wife was appointed, as Jean Carnahan then served that Senate seat. This is, it's not an apples to apples comparison, but it's kind of, it's the closest that I can get to a family member, a non-political family member being appointed to a massively important seat like something in the United States Senate. Before we get into other things, what are your thoughts on the Lindsey Graham situation?
Well, it's sad. It's tragic. You don't have to agree with anything everybody always does, and that's it's just sudden. It comes at an extraordinarily sensitive time in our country, but in the Senate. And I'll give you a little peek about what's really going on behind all the pageantry and the wiping of the eyes and the wringing of the hands. What's really going on is a massive power struggle. And the power struggle is you have your establishment political elitists like Senator Thune, who's running the Senate right now. And you have that wing, and you have the MAGA wing, you have the Donald Trump wing, essentially, because Donald Trump really is the Republican Party right now. And your elitist political establishment are basically waiting him out. And they're hoping that they can then regain power and go back to how they have been running things for decades. Both that's that uniparty we've talked about so many times. And there's so many examples of this on display when, for example, they have senators like our own Senator Josh Hawley presiding over the Senate so that President Trump can't make recess appointments. If you haven't noticed this, they'll put a senator to preside over the Senate, and so that recess appointments can't be made by the president. And this has been ongoing. This is a power struggle between the leadership in the Senate and the president, and really the ideological future of our country and what it is going to mean to be conservative, to be Republican, to be the GOP. The heart and soul right now is at risk, and that's what's being fought over. So when an appointment, an opportunity comes up like this, I guarantee you have those in the president's wings and those in the establishment elitist group that are desperately looking for a person that will align with their interests and vote the way they want them to and do exactly what they're told. That's what's really going on behind the scenes right now.
Yeah, and to that point, I mean, talk about how, because being a United States Senator is a massively important and influential and powerful position. I'm not trying to say that in any way. However, when you do have somebody that's coming in for just a few months here, she will serve through January in that seat. We joke, and I mean, it's not really a joke about how the Senate doesn't do anything anyway. So how busy could she possibly be? Very busy. But with it only being a temporary amount of time, you don't really expect this person to be the one, chairing a committee or setting an agenda or anything like that. Like, basically, correct me if I'm wrong, she's just there to vote on issue and be told, because, the president endorsed her, Tim Scott, who I trust, which is that's my one really, that's my one sort of guiding sort of hopeful optimism on this, is that Tim Scott, I trust Tim Scott, and Tim Scott endorsed the sister to take the spot as well, and hopefully he knows that that's that she is going to be the right person for the job. But not to oversimplify it, Justin, but yeah, I mean, like, essentially her role is going to be just to have that Republican vote be active, and we'll tell you what to vote. We'll tell you, we'll tell you what your vote is when it happens, and other than that, just hang out.
That's right. And so you're exactly right. That establishment leadership in the Senate is immediately going to try to surround her, pamper her, say, hey, everything's okay. They're going to surround her with establishment staff. Now, the good thing is she's going to have the staff of Lindsey that have been there. They know they will guide her. They will help her. And ultimately, I think that Tim Scott's endorsement really carries a lot of weight, and she will be in over her head. Everybody and anyone would be in over their head. But I think that we have a good appointment here.
Yeah.
In terms of actually trying to push back against that establishment agenda that is so clearly trying to derail efforts like the Save America Act.
Talking to Justin Sparks, former Missouri State Representative, also longtime law enforcement. And I want to sort of reset here, Justin, in just a second, because today is the 2-year anniversary of the assassination attempt against President Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania. That was Saturday, July 13th of 2024. And Justin was a massive asset to this show and to this station and to the discussion surrounding that assassination attempt as we tried to unpack it and, figure out the details in the days and weeks after that assassination attempt. In one I look at it one way, Justin, and I can't believe it's already been 2 years. And then I look at it another way, and it feels like it was 20 years ago. You know, I mean, but yeah, we had a lot of really great conversations with Justin around that time, leaning heavily on Justin's experience in law enforcement and specifically SWAT and security detail for vice presidents and presidents and what it's like to secure an area and work with the Secret Service and be a part of all of that. And I kind of want to reflect on what's happened over these last 2 years. Are we safer? We've certainly seen more assassination attempts. Did we learn anything from that experience? So I want to talk with Justin about that as we continue the conversation here. You're listening to a very busy Monday afternoon on Colombo and Company on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. News, analysis, opinion.
It almost seems common sense, but, alas, common sense isn't so common these days.
News Talk STL.
Fox News Commentary with Guy Benson, next.
Most investments today feel like second jobs. Real estate, you're a landlord. Stocks, you're a day trader. Crypto, you're a full-time researcher. You've got a life to live. Your investment should help you live it. That's why more Americans are choosing gold. Noble Gold has helped thousands protect their future with real physical gold. Visit noblegoldinvestments.com to get your free wealth protection kit. That's noblegoldinvestments.com. Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals, including gold, involves risks. Consult with your tax attorney or financial professional before making an investment decision.
Guy Benson reacts to President Trump's Iran strategy.
I think the distinction between one of the forever wars that he campaigned against and this is not boots on the ground. This is not an invasion. And to his credit, I think, what's the old lefty slogan, give peace a chance? He did. He really did. And there was a lot of very optimistic, sort of rainbow and butterflies, one might argue naive talk about how this third rung of leadership is much more rational and we've turned a page and isn't that cool? We heard that from the vice president. And then this has been a hard dose of reality, once again, delivered by the regime itself, that this is what they do. They provoke, they lie, they escalate, they play games. And it sounds like President Trump has had it up to here with them. The peace chance has happened, and now it looks like the bombs are dropping again.
For more commentary like this, go to foxnewspodcast.com.
Hi, it's Ken Williams, and my favorite Capriati sandwich is the Cap Pastrami. You've got hot pastrami, melty Swiss cheese, crunchy coleslaw, and zesty Russian dressing. What else do you need? I love Capriati's, and you will too. On Manchester at McKnight and Rock Hill, and now in Creve Coeur on Olive, just 1 mile west of 270.
This is Brandon from Reach. On July 18th, we are hosting Unfiltered, a one-day conference for youth and young adults where we'll be covering topics like relationships, identity, purpose, faith, and culture. We will have breakout sessions, worship, and real community for young adults to encounter. If you know a student or a young adult who needs to be in the room, get them signed up. Spots are limited, so don't wait. Register now at unfilteredstl.com.
Bill, that's a big smile for an old politician.
I'm thinking about our plan. It's slick enough to make a lobbyist blush. First, we hoodwink voters with Amendment 5. Tell them it's a tax cut. Once they're hooked, we decide who pays the higher taxes.
So it's not a tax cut plan, and we don't get a say?
Right, just swaps who pays the tax, but it does remove 3 voter-passed taxpayer constitutional protections. That lets us levy new taxes on services, increase sales taxes, and even tax home sales. And voters will no longer get to vote on tax hikes.
Higher sales taxes on groceries, gas, service taxes on doctor visits, childcare, and even rent on apartments. Jeez. Taxes could exceed 20%.
Sure, they figure that up to 80% of taxpayers will pay more taxes. Many, hundreds more. Seniors, they'll get hit even harder, but our big donors will cut a fat hog.
The ones getting butchered by Amendment 5 are most taxpayers. I'm voting no on 5.
Paid for by Missourians for fair taxation.
On the next,
Larry Connors, USA.
The story behind the story. The movie that created the first PG-13 rating.
Larry Connors, USA. Now, weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL.
Welcome back to Colombo and Company on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL. Tony Colombo here in studio with producer Ashlyn and former Missouri State Representative, our law enforcement expert here on the show, Justin Sparks, is with us. And Justin, I keep getting sucked back into this Lindsey Graham story. Just at the break, this is just interesting. We're not going to get into this, but just food for thought, and maybe someone we'll talk about later on in the week. I don't know why there's articles out about Lindsey Graham's net worth, right after he passes away, but there are. And so I was just looking at them, and he was his net worth was about $1.4 million. And that's a lot. I mean, he was well off, as all of these longtime politicians are. But it's interesting to me that a guy like Lindsey Graham is worth $1.4 million, and Nancy Pelosi is worth $285 million. Somebody's doing something different.
Honestly, Tony, a senator that had been in the Senate for so long, and not just any senator, a very powerful one. And the man was 71 years old. A net worth of just over $1 million is, I think, relatively expected. I mean, that's probably the most net worth of a lot of retirees, maybe at his age, that have had a long career in government. Yeah. And I'm not even talking at the Senate level. I'm just talking about at all levels of government.
Right.
When you add up your pension and your investment, it's usually about over $1 million. So,
well, then why is Nancy Pelosi 200? Why is Nancy Pelosi pushing 300 million? Chuck Schumer's closer to 10 million. Joe Biden's over 10 million.
That's because they're crooks.
Just saying.
Obviously, I was in the state legislature, and when you're sitting in committees and you're steering legislation, here's how it really works. You see a lot of things that sometimes is in the public eye and is part of the public record, and people just don't pay attention to it, and sometimes not. And what you end up kind of getting an inside information is you can see companies and interests aligning and investments being made because these special interests are pouring so much money into lobbying politicians. So you clearly know they're pouring a great deal of asset money into steering legislation because they have a huge investment in a particular product. And if you can get inside information that way, you can start making investments. Only, let's say you don't make the investment, you have somebody that's controlling your interests make an investment, you get through a loophole and you make a lot of money. And we know that they do this, and we know that this is a common practice that has happened on both sides of the aisle. And the reason they keep doing it is, they made it against the rules to do that, Tony. And they even put a penalty. You know how much the penalty is?
How much?
$500. $500. So when you're making $1.2 million on an investment,
not too
$500 is well worth the cost.
Not real difficult.
Right?
Not real difficult to.
And that's why the whole thing's a joke. That's why our governing institutions and the political class, the elitist political class of our day, has lost so much confidence of the American people on both sides of the political spectrum. We are at a crisis right now because of that exact reason. It's a wink, wink, nod, nod. Everybody knows the game is fixed. And until we fix that, things aren't going to change.
So, just food for thought. I was just looking at a couple of notables here. Kamala Harris's net worth is $14 million, according to the website Celebrity Net Worth, whatever the net worth of that website is. I'll give you that. But according to the website, this internet website at least, Kamala Harris is worth $14 million. Elizabeth Warren is worth $8 million. So Elizabeth Warren's worth, 5 times more than Lindsey Graham. Kamala Harris, much more than that. Then you got Chuck Schumer and Joe Biden at more like $10 million. So 6-7 times more than Lindsey Graham. And then people like Nancy Pelosi at $300 million. I don't know. Just a pattern. That's all. We don't have to go any further, but just food for thought as we talk to Justin Sparks here on Colombo and Company. But, Yeah, let's get into this conversation about today. Is the 2-year anniversary of the Trump assassination attempt in Butler, Pennsylvania. I'll never forget it. I was the closest person to the radio station that afternoon. I was actually out running some errands, and I was already in my truck. And so I just literally heard the news and just busted a Yui and came into the radio station so we would be on top of that story. And then in the days following and weeks following, Justin was one of my go-to, if not my primary go-to for trying to understand what happened and how it happened and unpack this situation. We've seen, the golf course assassination attempt was only just a few weeks after that, and then more recently, just a couple of months ago, we had the at the press dinner, we had the guy, run past Secret Service and nearly get into the ballroom with the president in his attempt to assassinate Trump. So there's been multiple, who knows, maybe you knows, but there's who knows how many other assassination attempts against President Trump. What are your biggest, as you look back these last 2 years, Justin, what are your biggest thoughts, your biggest takeaways? Is it frustration about not getting better, or is it that we did learn something? What are the things that first pop in your mind when you think about that assassination attempt 2 years ago?
Well, I remember it very well, and I remember the conversations that we had, and what I was hoping would happen from then to now would be a massive wake-up call and a return to civility and non-politicization of between when we're talking about protecting members of our government, both running for office and already elected office, whether you're Republican or Democrat or anything in between. We used to all agree that political violence had no place in our society. Our society has traditionally been an honor society based on the honor system, doing the right thing. And in fact, the opposite has occurred, Tony. There was no wake-up call. There were a lot of questions, and there's been some preliminary investigations. We still don't have all the answers to Butler, in my opinion. My own questions about what happened that day have not been fully answered. And I know that a lot of people share my opinion, share my feelings on that. I'll just leave it at that. And I will just say that I agree with Sarah Adams, who is a former CIA targeter. She's talked about how many terrorists have been led across our southern border. I think that our homeland has never been at more risk than we are right now. And I think there's multiple reasons for that. I think the border crisis is paramount among those factors, Tony. But I think that also because our culture right now is suffering such a political and ideological divide, we are so divided in this country, we are at risk to an outside entity attacking our homeland and shattering our resolve. And this is something that our founders talked about. This is something that Abraham Lincoln talked about ad nauseum, and really mentioned the fact that if we stay together, if we come together, if we put the important things first, then we really are an exceptional people. I'm not talking out of hubris here. The American experiment is unparalleled in its resolve, in its exceptionalism, in its strength. But when we're divided, a house cannot stand. Mm-hmm. And that's where we're at right now. I think we're extremely vulnerable. I think the enemy is within the gates. And I think that it's incumbent upon us as Americans to keep our eyes open and to look out for our neighbors. I really believe that.
So I want to get more into that, just the national security, border security, and that in a moment here, or maybe even in the coming weeks as we have this conversation, Justin. But just specifically when it comes to protecting the president, I feel like, and he gets literally shot in the head, in July of 2024. And it makes it even more unbelievable that 2 years later, just a mere couple months ago, another shooter was able to run right by Secret Service and security and get as close as he did, in another assassination attempt. It's like, how is this, if after that close call, how is it possible for another assassin to get that close to the president? So my question for you is this just an example of it's such a monumental task to try to protect somebody like that that's moving around in the public, that there's just so many variables, and that it's just not humanly possible to put up a 100% impenetrable force field or shield around the president? Is it that are we just realizing that, or in the last 2 years have we just not learned our lesson and we're just not willing to put in the resources and the hard work that it takes to make sure that these things don't happen? And maybe it's somewhere in between there. Where do you land in that for that question?
So I land where you do on option number 2. And the thing is, I have good buddies that work in the Secret Service. I worked with the Secret Service many times. I love those guys, hardworking. This will take a complete redo. So I'm talking a cultural ethos, completely rebirth, transformation of the agency, posture, resources, manpower, funding, training. I'm talking from the top down, a complete and utter transformation of an agency in order to get on the appropriate footing to properly protect the president in the threat environment we're in today. And it's my own opinion from the outside looking in, the Secret Service has not made that transformation. I think that they've done a whole lot with the resources they already have and the manpower of their current staffing levels. I think that they are taking the threats seriously, but I think that this is beyond them at this point. I think that this is a transformational, complete redo, revamp of an entire agency, and to look and say, we have to completely change. And that's just my opinion. That's what I would do if you said magic wand, Justin, fix this problem. I would a complete transformation on day one. I would probably bring in other agencies. I would probably bring in just an incredible open the checkbook. We're looking at this completely different. We are going to completely take a new look because of it's clear that what we're doing isn't working.
And I think that it cannot be. I don't think it can be overstated. Also, my opinion, my strong opinion, is that not only are there weaknesses, soft spots, whatever you want to call them, holes in the plan or the protection issues that need to be addressed and talked about, and maybe aren't being addressed at the level that they should be, or we're not working on those problems, and that's a big factor in this. But I wholeheartedly believe that another big factor in this is that we have emboldened people. We have emboldened bad people and motivated them to do bad things, where maybe in the past, common sense, public sentiment would have discouraged them. Now they feel like they are heroes, and they're treated as heroes and that motivation. Now, it just compounds on the weaknesses in the defense and the security that we have when you have more motivated, emboldened people to try to do bad things.
Okay, I think that could be the most important thing that you say all day. I'm dead serious. I could not agree with you more. I'm telling you, when I was in law enforcement, the most dangerous person that we would deal with, the most dangerous people we dealt with, were bad guys that thought they were in the right, that they thought they were doing something. For example, somebody that's completely having a mental break, thinking that they're God's agent for truth and that I need to kill this person. The most dangerous person, because they don't think they're in the wrong. They think they're doing something righteous. They are convinced in their own mind of their righteousness, and they will go to any lengths to accomplish it. And incredibly dangerous. You were exactly right. And that has been encouraged in the current cultural environment we find ourselves in, rationalized and justified. You have somebody assassinating a healthcare executive and being rewarded with a $500,000 GoFundMe and girls wanting to marry him.
Yeah.
Okay, that's literally where we're at. We're in a toxic environment, a self-feedback loop of social media filth, and people like this are being radicalized. And that's exactly what we're facing.
That is so spot on in the way that you described that. It's very similar to what we're dealing with in the Middle East. You know, when you look at things like terrorists that are suicide bombers, it's like, how can you even get in that mindset of would a person even be capable of that? But when they believe that they are fighting for a cause or a God that is larger than them, then that person, is somebody that is on a different level of rationality than you and I. And the sacrifice that they're willing to make is incredible if they believe, that their God or their cause is strong enough. And we've emboldened that. We've emboldened that a lot across the world and in the United States, and I think it's one of the biggest reasons for a lot of the problems that we're having right now. Great conversation. Justin Sparks, really appreciate your time, as always. Look forward to talking to you again very soon. Might have to lean on you a little bonus time over here over the next couple weeks with everything that's going on with the elections coming up and everything happening around the country and around the world. But always appreciate your time, my friend. We'll talk to you again very soon.
God bless you, Tony.
Yeah, back at you, buddy. Great stuff there. Former Missouri State Representative Justin Sparks. All right, before we get out of here on this busy Monday, hand it over to the Tim Jones and Chris Arp show at 4 o'clock. It is also storm season still around the St. Louis area. I don't know. I can't even do it anymore. I feel like every single day it's sunny and 90, and then it's pouring down rain. Like you walk down the hall, it's sunny, it's a beautiful day outside. You take the trash out or something, you look out the window, it's pouring down rain. And then you go to the bathroom and come out and it's sunny again. What is happening? It's a lot to keep up with. And, it can wreak havoc on your home or your business. And there's a lot that you have to take account for when we are in storm season in the St. Louis area. And that's why it's so great to have a team like Gutter Pros on your side. And our good friend Dave Sylvester from the Gutter Pros is live in studio with us, and he joins us next.
Follow Tony Colombo on Twitter at Tony Colombo Talk. News, analysis, opinion.
We attacked Cargill Island last night. There's not a thing they can do about it. They'll agree on everything, and then they'll go and have a news conference and say we never even talked about it. They're cuckoo.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Weber Chevrolet, servicing the St. Louis community for nearly 125 years, a stat that just blows my mind every time I think about it or say it. For literally half the time that the United States has been a country, the Weber family has been a part of the St. Louis community. And I always say, you don't stick around in the community that long if you are not doing right by that community and by your customers. And that is what sets Weber apart from the rest. Nobody's going to give you a better deal on a new vehicle. Nobody's going to give you a better deal on your trade-in. But above all of that, nobody's going to take care of you in that vehicle for the entire time that you own it better than the team at Weber Chevrolet. That's why they've been here for 125 years. That's why year after year, month after month, they're number one when it comes to customer service rankings or reputation scores. So if you are looking for a new vehicle, check out what's happening right now at all three local Weber Chevrolet dealerships. We've got Creve Coeur in Missouri, Granite City, and Columbia in Illinois. And you can see what's happening at all of those dealerships just by going to WeberChevrolet.com.
Hey, it's Vic Porcelli. We're sitting here with our great friend, Chris Cooper. Hi, Chris.
What's going on, Vic? How are you?
I hear you wrote another book. This one's an e-book. Is that right?
The
Business Owner's Playbook for Financial Clarity. So it is a great book for entrepreneurs, a very short guide, give people, business owners, the ability to understand key questions that are important, such as succession planning, legacy planning, getting the IRS out of our pockets, right? Because do you like paying taxes?
I do not.
I don't think anybody likes paying taxes, right? That just makes sense. And then always talking about protection. And then the other thing from a business owner perspective, what is the biggest asset a business owner has? Probably their business itself, right? We need to make sure we understand what the value of that business is as well.
So this new book, I'm sure, is incredibly expensive, right? How much?
No, it's a free resource.
Oh, it's free.
We provide guidance, we provide education because we want to make sure people feel educated and understanding because sometimes you don't know what questions to ask, and we need to make sure we help arm people with information to ask the right question.
Reach out to Chris and Stacy today at SerenityWealthNow.com.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC.
There's an old way to buy a mattress, and there's a new way. The old way? Lay on a mattress for about 6 minutes, look at your spouse, shrug, and somehow decide where you're going to spend the next 10 years of your life. Seems like a lot of confidence for 6 minutes. At Snooze Mattress Company, we use advanced pressure mapping technology to help you understand what your body actually needs before you make that decision. It's personalized, it's simple, and it beats crossing your fingers. Come see us during our 4th of July event sale. When you sleep better,
The Laborers International Union of North America, Local 110, was formed in 1933 and from the beginning has strived for progress and the well-being of others. The laborers of Local 110 are hardworking men and women who take pride in their great work. They are the fastest growing union of construction workers and one of the most effective unions representing plants and quarries. Laborers Local 110 has the best medical benefits, pension, education, and heavy construction training in the market. Visit lu110.com and start your future today.
Welcome back to Colombo Company on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL. The Jurassic Park music by Ashland. Yeah, that's another story of the day. Sam Neill, one of the actors that was in the first Jurassic Park movie, and those first Jurassic Park movies, and then returned in the Jurassic Park or the Jurassic World movies, passed away at the age of 78. And so another sad story that happened, over this weekend. But yeah, Sam Neill, Jurassic Park star, passed away this weekend. Honoring him there with a little Jurassic Park theme. Joining us now in the studio is the great Dave Sylvester from Gutter Pros and Exteriors. And I mentioned, Dave, a minute ago as I was talking about you being in studio with us. It's storm season. Everybody knows that in St. Louis, spring and summer, storms can pop up. There's humidity out there, it can just pop up anytime. We're all used to that. But I feel like over these last few weeks, it's literally been like, not day by day, hour by hour.
Yeah.
The same day it could be sunny and hot, and then it can be pouring like flash flood.
Yes.
And
Boy,
then
you
back
saw
to
what happened in central Missouri.
Yeah.
I mean, 6 to 12 inches of rain. What in the world?
So that's got to be...
Oh, yeah.
That's got to be causing some problems for some folks out there when it comes to their gutters, their siding.
We've had lots of calls of just everything overflowing. And in a lot of cases, that's just the sheer unbelievable quantity of water falling out of the sky.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you stick in a cup underneath a faucet of water and it just fills it so fast. It happens sometimes where there's just no control.
Is there anything about this year that has stood out as far as an issue or something, that's been especially apparent when it comes to the work that you guys are doing on siding and gutters, or is this just, going through a period of a storm period like this, just a reminder of all the things that can go wrong?
Yeah, it's a great question. This year we did not have a hailstorm that hit here directly, but we've had hail to the southwest, and we've got some gutter crews down in Springfield right now that are helping out. The hail was so intense down there that it busted windshields in.
Wow.
That's how bad that some of them got it in Springfield. So we've got a few crews down there helping out, working and doing gutter. St. Louis has just been these bursts, like we were just talking about, these overflowing rains, and that creates a little anxiety,
yeah.
For folks when they look out and everything's just overflowing.
Mm-hmm.
But, so it's been sort of a blasé storm year in a way, but it's also been
the bursts that have kept us really busy.
Should the typical gutters be able to handle the drainage? If they're, no matter what, like no matter how intense the rain is, should your typical standard gutters be able to handle that? Or is there a point where even a storm can just kind of overwhelm the system?
That's a great question. There are homes that are built now that just have massive roofs, and the builders have put up the 5-inch standard gutter on those. And that's an overwhelming overflow.
Yeah.
But a 6-inch larger gutter has a much greater holding capacity, and while it doesn't sound like it's much bigger, it's an inch deeper and an inch wider, and it does handle quite a bit more.
Yeah.
And you have larger downspouts that move the water out faster. So it's a great question. Under normal circumstances, your average rain, a 5-inch gutter can probably handle it, but anything that starts to really dump, and we get enough of those rains that just are.
The reason I ask is because if somebody's looking and it's pouring down rain and their gutters are overflowing, could they just be saying like, oh, there's nothing wrong with the gutters. It's this. Look how bad it's raining. That's why it's overflowing.
Yeah.
Or is it
could
almost
be full of gunk too?
Is it Is it almost always? Except on the rare exception, is it almost always an indication of a problem?
Well, I'll say
if
this:
the gutters can't handle it.
We have so many customers that are now calling saying, "I am done with the size gutters that I have in my house.
Yeah.
I want to get the bigger ones. Can you please?" So we're doing way more 6-inch gutter than. I mean, I've been doing this 36 years. When I first started, it was 6-inch was like an exception. Almost.
I wouldn't do. If I was getting gutter. If you were coming over to do gutter replacement,
you'd do 6.
I'd do 6.
Yeah,
I get it if you're just having a quick repair and it's the same, and you're like, I don't want to do the whole thing. But I don't know why. For all the reasons you just discussed and the conversations we've had in the past, if I was replacing gutters in my home. Or if I was building a home, I just go straight to the 6-inch.
Yeah,
you'd
be stunned. In St. Louis, we have a lot of these 2.5-story large brick structures, especially in the city of St. Louis, where it's a flat roof and all the water goes to the back. It just goes to a 30-foot piece of gutter and it's a massive home.
Mm-hmm.
So years ago, it was 5-inch gutter on those things.
Was it because of the appearance? Was it just a look thing? Like, why 5 inches then? Was it like, the 6 looked weird?
It was the least expensive.
Least
expensive. And then 6 was more, it was a better idea to put 6. But now, like, we even have a 7-inch machine now.
Yeah.
We've had a 7-inch machine for a while, and I recommend 7-inch on these big flat roof buildings. I mean, why in the world would you want it to overflow? Because it just comes straight down the wall in the windows. So, it depends on what you need.
Yeah.
We're going to make a recommendation based on what you've got.
When we've been hit with these, we haven't had like the huge long-lasting storms or like, a bunch of severe, tornado-creating storms that we've seen in some storm. But like, this has been a very unique where we have had these severe just pop-ups of, downpour and flash flooding. What is more at risk, or what do you see getting damaged more when that type of things happen? Is it more of a gutter concern? Is it more of a siding concern? Or is it is it just simply like depending on the house or the building?
I guess it depends. If it's a big hailstorm, then you run the risk of your siding just being Swiss cheesed,
Yeah.
Or your roof, being hit really bad. Gutters. Some insurance companies, unfortunately, now are calling gutters a cosmetic issue. So if you want gutters, then it's out of pocket.
No.
Yeah, because they see the gutters are still functioning. They just look like they've been run through somebody's beat it with a ball-peen hammer. But, hey, it still works.
Well.
You believe that?
No.
So that's happening in Illinois. It's weaving its way into St. Louis.
I do believe it, but that's
I know.
The gutters are critical.
They are.
They are not cosmetic.
Yeah, when somebody tells you, well, my house was built, it doesn't need gutter, I laugh because it's like, in St. Louis, you've got to have gutters.
Yeah.
You have to have gutters.
So what are you busy in both areas, siding and gutter right now? Or is there one that's a little worse than the other?
All of our siding and soffit and fascia crews have stayed here in St. Louis because we've kept everybody really busy. But the gutter crews, we have so many that we have been able to peel off a few to send elsewhere where it's needed.
Yeah.
So, but this has been the year of the gutter.
So if it's it's your house or your building and one of these bad storms roll through, one of these flash deals where there's just
blows up.
Yeah, a ton of water dumped in a short period of
Yeah.
time. Maybe a little hail, maybe not. Maybe just a bunch
just
of water.
a lot of rain.
What's the first thing that you check on if you have a concern? Dave Sylvester, with all your experience with gutters and siding, you go out and look at the house. Like, what is the first thing you check?
Well, I'm looking for overflow stains on the gutter.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm talking about gutters alone right now. But if it's siding and it's siding damage, it's going to be so obvious. Maybe it's not going to be as obvious with gutter. But I'm going to look to see if it's draining properly. I'm going to look for overflow. I'm going to look for ruts in the ground that are showing me where it's overflowing and causing problems, because that hydrostatic pressure up against your basement stinketh.
Oh,
right? It's not good.
That was what I was in. I was heading down that road until
that's
you
the
guys
road
took
were
care
on.
of it.
Yeah.
That's Dave Sylvester from Gutter Pros and Exteriors. It's all your gutter needs, gutter repair, replacement, but also all your siding needs, fascia, soffit. They do it all at Gutter Pros. Congratulations on the new family member, my friend.
Thank you, brother.
It's
Little
great to see you.
grandson.
Yeah, Dave
right.
Sylvester from the Gutter Pros. Really appreciate your time as always, buddy.
Thanks for letting me come in a week late.
It's great to see you, and for a good reason, my man. All right, that's going to do it for us. Colombo and Company back tomorrow at 2. Keep it here for Larry's commentary next, then the Tim Jones and Chris Harp Show.
You never know who you'll run into at Sugar Creek Golf Course. Stop by the News Talk VIP Lounge inside the Sugar Creek Clubhouse and catch familiar faces like Jamie Allman, Mike Ferguson, Tim Jones, Nick Schroer, and more from the News Talk STL team. Grab a cold drink, say hello, and take in the atmosphere. And before you leave, swing by the Pro Shop to pick up your official News Talk STL polo. The Sugar Creek Pro Shop is the only place you can get one.